Alrighty.
Cool. So, what was I gonna say? Oh, so the style of this cupping is gonna be how we do our roasting QC. And it's basically just recording any flavor notes and then a score of 1 to 3, which basically what it means is a 3 is usually means that it is exceeding expectations. In other words, we want to go in that direction. A 2 would be it's on par, and it meets the spec of what we expect the profile to taste like. And a 1 is that it's not meeting expectations. And these coffees are actually, they were roasted. These are the very first batches that we roasted of these coffees. So they're test batches, and not all of them necessarily need to be 2 and above. If you feel like one of them doesn't meet expectations or isn't quite there, then like if you perceive any kind of like roast defect, like underdeveloped, overdeveloped, anything else like that, then you can just mark it a 1. If you're using the session on Cropster, or if you have your own notes, you can do whatever you want. But that's basically what I'm going to be doing, and you can follow along if you want.
Nice.
Yeah. Shall we do like a quick dry pass, quick sniff?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Give us the go, and we can all start pouring.
All right.
Nice kettle, Kieran.
Thank you. Exactly one you guys have at warehouse. Nice.
Yeah. All right, I'm ready to pour.
Okay.
Start the timer.
Awesome.
I'm gonna get some more water on just in case.
Yeah, good point.
Smells so good.
Yeah, there's some really nice coffees on the table this month.
I had to try this with the water we have here because it's quite like obviously different in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Are you using tap water?
Yeah. It's got a unique smell to it.
It's not the same without the salsa music in the background. James.
Yeah.
James has like a soundtrack for these.
Awesome.
He does is that for every cupping or just the public one?
No, I do it for, I've been doing it for every cupping. But I've moved from the salsa. I'll like oscillate between that and one that Cyrenthia shared, which is just like kind of more chill.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, depending on, I don't know, I guess how I feel, because I don't know how they're gonna feel. I don't know how they're gonna feel until I open it. Yeah. Some lo-fi beats,
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's relaxing.
Yeah. Well, it's
Oh,
time,
that's me. Time to break.
right? All right. Mine's definitely at a good temperature.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Ooh. I forgot they're not in the same order. That's funny.
Mm.
This is hitting the spot. I can't lie.
It's hitting the spot.
Yeah, I'm just hitting the spot.
Ooh, what'd you guys think of the P2?
Yes, our first coffee is from Peru, and that's our classic profile. Any thoughts?
I can't really put my finger on what this tastes like because it reminds me of, I don't know if you ever have, but if you ever done a hookah, like it tastes like hookah to me. I
Okay.
don't know what that tastes.
So yeah. So isn't there like a dried fruit or some other kind of like sweet ingredient in hookah, and also probably a little bit of, I could see like tobacco as well, like both of those kind of mixed together.
Dig that.
Yeah.
I dig that. Yeah. Cause I got
I wish
like, I think. Oh, what were you saying?
I said I wish I had something better, but yeah. What'd you get, James?
I was just thinking, I think hookah is great because I didn't write it down, but I am like getting a lot of tobacco, like fresh tobacco, not like
Yeah.
smoked tobacco. But I got like, yeah, like I wrote down fig for that kind of fruitiness, like some kind of dried fruit there, like fig, maybe raisin. Um, but like very creamy body. Um, the fragrance for me was like toast and fig Newtons. Um, and I got like toasted almonds and fig and cedar and also like just like a perfectly toasted marshmallow, You get it like,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of sweet sugary flavors. I also wrote down fig, and caramel, a little bit of earthiness and a little bit of toastiness. Kind of is. I didn't write down tobacco, but now that you've mentioned it, that does make sense.
Cool. I think in the beginning for me, like just smelling it when it was dry, it was sort of like a castor sugar smell for me. When it was wet, a bit of like just smelling it wet, it was like chocolate brownie. Um, and then as I was sipping it, yeah, a bit of a nutty smell or nutty taste, and chocolate again for me as well. But I thought it at first it sort of faded quickly. Like I thought it sort of was disappearing quick. But then as it got cool, that when I went back to it, it was much fruitier, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a really good coffee. This is actually a what would you call that? A sort of we brought this coffee back. We had it earlier in the fall last year. I think it was November in Profile 5, but new shipments of this from this group of farmers has been coming into the country for months. So this is kind of like later in the harvest. And it's definitely a little bit sweeter and maybe a little brighter than what it was like before. So it's kind of really interesting to see how the harvest progresses and how the coffee changes. Like coffee that was picked later in the harvest is going to have different characteristics than earlier in the harvest. So that's
Awesome.
pretty fun. Yeah.
Too, it ripens later, farther up the mountain, right? So it might be that this is some of the higher elevation stuff from the group.
Yep. I could see that.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that there's like a really kind of nice toasty but clean finish to it that like I feel like the acidity is not super fruit forward, but it's just kind of doing a lot of work to kind of clean it up. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
kind of mellow and sweet,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah, it's really nice. I gave it a three to be TBA.
cool.
Oh yeah,
Me too.
I gave it a 2.
I gave it a 2 as well.
Yeah.
Respectable number. Yeah.
Yeah. The next one in line is the balance profile, and it's from Brazil. I find this coffee pretty surprising for Brazil. We're kind of lucky to get our hands on it because I don't think we were expecting this. We've gotten a few copies from around this area and through the same importer, and they're just like, they're it's a decent balanced coffee, but this one is like very dynamic. And I remember like there's some coffees in previous years from Brazil that they're pretty rare that taste pretty similar to this. I feel like this is an unusual coffee, but probably becoming more usual in Brazil. Like these kinds of micro lots are just becoming more and more available, which is really cool.
Hmm.
What did you guys think?
Excuse me. I thought the fragrance, I thought it smelled like sweet tobacco. I felt like the first two were kind of tobacco-y. I thought it smelled like sweet tobacco. I thought the aroma was like more citrusy and creamy. The flavor, I was getting like citrusy, juicy, more like stone fruitiness. And the body is pretty light. The acidity wasn't so high at first, but it's gotten higher as it's cooled. And I feel like the aftertaste is also more aggressive as it cools too.
Mm.
And those are my notes.
I can agree with the tobacco descriptor because I always think of raisins like as an ex-smoker. Whenever I smelled like a cigarette before it was smoking, it always smelled like raisins. So I associate the tobacco with that, and I got this like kind of golden nutty like raisin flavor out of it, as well as like a bit of raspberry as it was cooling. Like when it was a bit hotter, it was like raspberry chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty awesome. But now that it's cooled a bit, I've got a lot of raisin coming out of that, and I think it's lovely.
Yeah, I thought that the fragrance was really giving me all of the fruit. Like I got mango and like berry. The aroma was really floral to me. But then the flavor was very different. Like I got like cashew butter. Um,
Ooh, I can see that.
yeah, like a really, really nice kind of nuttiness and like all of the stone fruit, like apricot, papaya, dried cherry. I also got raspberry. Yeah.
Nice.
Look at us, kind of calibrated.
How about you, Ian?
Yeah, fragrance, definitely citrusy, dried fruit, a little bit of earthiness. And then in the flavor, I definitely got like lemon, peach. Kind of when it was hot, it was more of like a bright jasmine-like finish, like jasmine tea. And that kind of
Jasmine,
followed
that's
with, yeah. And it kind of had like maybe a little bit of a green pea thing on the finish as well. There was sort of like this, a little bit of greenness about the finish. But overall, I'm enjoying it. I think it's really good.
mm-hmm. I gave it a 2. I felt like it was on par with what balanced is. It's a little bit more acidic than balanced normally is as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like as it cools, you lose some of the balance in it that it has in the beginning, where you're getting more like of a mix of florals and nuttiness that kind of just goes as it cools. But I feel like it's still on par though.
Yeah. Yeah, it does change a little bit as it cools for sure. I feel like there was a sweet spot in there, like right when it was kind of just starting to cool, and that was exactly what I wanted it to taste like. And I got to enjoy
Mm-hmm.
that, but then it started to change a little bit as it cooled.
Hmm. Yeah.
All right.
I give it a 2. Sorry, I thought it was like it's on par for what it to me what it should be. And like you said, like there's a sweet spot. I usually drink my coffee before it gets like closer to room temp or something like. I usually like it to be a little bit warm still when I'm finishing it. So I think it was pretty decent.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with this coffee from being from Brazil. It's like really neat, unusual, unique. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, James.
Oh, I just thought, if there are any folks at home later, when you say like you're impressed with it from being from Brazil, do you want to, what do you mean by that?
So we've had like natural processed Brazils in the balance profile before, and they do kind of sit more in that just a little hint of dried fruit and nutty and chocolatey set of flavors. Whereas this one is much brighter, much more like fruit forward, like perfumey aromas and stuff like that, which is not what I would expect from a Brazilian coffee, unless it was a coffee that was like on an auction or something. That's what I think is really cool about this coffee, is that it reminds me of coffees that go up and win contests in Brazil or have in the past. And I think this may be an indicator that more of that kind of coffee is becoming available in Brazil. More people are taking over, making micro lots and learning how to process coffees that have these flavors, and they're just able to sell them through like regular channels instead of like a auction like contest. So really exciting.
Awesome.
All right, so the next coffee on the table is from Rwanda. It's the fruity profile, and this would normally be called profile 1, but it's in the 3rd position, and that's just the way we've ordered it today. What did you guys think?
I thought it was good. I couldn't really put my finger on the fragrance. I just put red fruit. But the aroma was very strawberry, raspberry. The flavor was like strawberry jam. It is light and at first the acidity wasn't very high. It was a very smooth, like fruity experience. Once it hit like closer to room temp, it felt like the acidity went up and somehow it was bitter. And then now I just tasted it again and it's way more tea-like. It's going on a journey for sure. But I really like it. The aftertaste is short, but like it still like coats your mouth. I think this is a really tasty coffee. And the fruity coffee typically is pretty acidic, and I feel like this is not that much of a zip. It's not too bright. It's more fruity than like bright.
Yeah, I can agree with all of that.
Yeah, me too.
I think this coffee does have more potential, and since this is the first test batch, I'm expecting the batches starting with the first week. I'm going to tweak a couple of things, and it's probably going to be a little bit more intense on the acidity side, hopefully. So I just need to work out a few little tweaks here and there, and I think this coffee will really open up, and it won't be as, I guess it seems like it's a little bit constrained right now, and maybe that sort of almost herbal tea like flavor is an indicator of the roast not being quite as developed as it could be. So it needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think, James?
Everything Cyrenthia said in the beginning, I agree with too. Like it was a little bit muted at first, but on dry, it was like, for me, I was getting peach, citrus, fruit punch, like you said, all these different things together. When it was wet, without having like broken the surface yet, it had like a banana smell to it. But then once we started sipping it, it was back to peach, melon, and then as it cooled, like trying it in the last like few minutes now, is marshmallow. It's awesome. It's yummy, but I totally agree with like adjusting the roast a little bit, so you can get a little more acidity out of it. But it's still good too. Like as a test roast, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I feel like this is going to be good. It has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
I gave it a 2.5.
Nice. Cool.
Can I do 0.5s?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. 2.5. Because it's like above par, but it's not like I can tell it has a little work to do. But
yeah,
it's above just like being on par. It's really good.
I don't know if y'all are familiar with this candy. I call it kind of like a grandma candy, but it's like this. I've talked to Ian about it every time we've cupped this, but it's like fruit and cream, basically. It's like a little like chewy maybe candy, and this brings me to that every single time. Like it's like a heavy cream thing going on. That I think that's what maybe is toning down the acidity, and you're just getting kind of like sweet fruit and this cream. But yeah, it's like the whole thing is like orange Julius, berries and cream, like mango. I definitely got like mango, white grape, mandarin, cherry, fruit juice. I wrote down fruit juice, but I meant to write fruit punch. When you said fruit punch, I'm like, that's the word.
Yes, fruit punch.
Yeah.
I just got red fruit, but that's essentially what fruit punch is.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm gonna change juice to punch, but yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah. Now we have another coffee, which is radically different in many different ways. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff to say about this one. So the next coffee on the table is from Profile 4, which is the bold profile, and it is from Sumatra, and it's a different process than Driftaway normally has. I don't know if we've ever had one. Maybe we have at some point, but this is what's called the wet hulled process, and it's pretty much unique to Southeast Asia, Indonesia. Yeah, what did you guys think of this coffee?
This one was fascinating for me, man. It's like, I mean, I'm happy to hear that it's the wet hold process, I guess, because I feel like, and like where it's from very specifically, there's a lot of elements of this that remind me of Robusta, and not in a negative way. Like if anyone was ever curious, this is like a really nice introduction to that sort of like a flavor profile, because it's very earthy, and there's like it's very low acidity, and it's like it's got a bit of it doesn't have like a strong astringency like you get with like a real Robusta, but to me it was like relatively close, but you still get some of the other flavors that you want in a bold coffee, like it's got a really nice dark chocolate taste to it, or like dark melted chocolate almost, but yeah, the earthiness of it was surprising at first. I was like, whoa, okay, yeah. Coming from our profile 1, the fruity profile, to this, the Geschmacksgeist was strong. The flavor ghost was strong.
Geschmacksgeist.
Yeah, man. Had to bring it back.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kieran invented this term to describe a specific phenomenon that needed a name. We didn't have one yet, and that's when you cup coffees in a certain order, you're going to either have like a sense memory or even just a trace amount of that coffee on your tongue, and it's going to change the way you perceive the next coffee in line.
Yeah.
That's Geschmacksgeist, the flavor ghost.
Ah. Interesting. That
legit.
doesn't the term though, so you're right. But I do agree with you. I felt like at first this coffee tasted like dirt, like dirty. Not necessarily like dirt. It was like earthy, but it was just a little rough. It smelled like dark chocolate. with like a hint of like licorice, like a hint. It was like roasty and smoky and earthy. And as it cooled, it got a little spicy. But, and it could be because it was right after the extremely fruity profile. But it was feeling a little strong for this profile. But as it cooled, it got much better.
Yeah.
It was warm. It was rough.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a very intense set of flavors. Even for the bold profile, this is a very bold coffee, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's interesting. The one thing that strikes me about this is that compared to a lot of Indonesian coffee, this one is kind of structured and clean. It doesn't feel, I mean, it doesn't taste too wild and disorganized. Like it's got all these kind of really intense flavors, very earthy, very spicy, even maybe a little herbal, but they're all very nicely organized. They don't like, one isn't like dominating everything and kind of spoiling it. Everything just kind of sits in its place, which I found really interesting. But I think you normally with Sumatran coffee, you can often have coffees that are kind of wild and disorganized. Like you're like, whoa, what am I tasting? Like, what is going on? And this one just kind of packs it all nice and neat, and you get to taste everything. And it's very intense, but it's not too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, James?
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that there is like almost like a calibration that my brain has to do when I first taste it. Like Cyrenthia was
Yeah.
maybe talking about, where it's like, whoa, what is that flavor? But yeah, the fragrance I got like legit like brisket, like barbecue brisket.
I thought it tasted barbecuey too. I
Yeah.
thought it smelled barbecuey too, but I couldn't decide like what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was like,
Brisket.
it is pork, but then yeah, it also smelled like black tea and even plums. Aroma was earthy, and then the flavor was like wet earth, dark malt, burnt caramel, toasted sesame, toasted pumpernickel, very dark toasted rye. Like yeah, it's a heavier stuff. And that herbal thing really really jives with me. I didn't write that down, but yeah. I think yeah, that may be like we may have talked about this before, but that might be part of the thing that might be cleaning it up, right?
Yeah, a little bit of herbal brightness that kind of, contrasts with all the heavier flavors. Yeah. All right, one last coffee. This is the extra bold profile, profile 5, and this one comes from Colombia. What did you guys think?
I was getting like more of like a hickory, toasty fragrance and aroma vibe. It's definitely giving more traditional when I smell it or when I was smelling it. The taste was like dark chocolate, burnt marshmallow, where it's like pretty roasty, but still has like an underlying sweetness to it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Heavy body, teacher breath aftertaste, where it's just kind of hanging out. Acidity is pretty low, I guess.
Yeah.
It's very much so what the extra bold has been. Very straightforward coffee.
Did you say teacher breath after?
Yes.
That's amazing. That coffee breath, like
yeah.
That's such a good descriptor. I love it.
Visceral. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
I like purple. And I'm not even a dark roast gal, but I like the purple.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. If there's like a coffee that made me think of a color and purple was it is this one. It's fascinating. The dry was kind of like an oaky dark chocolate smell for me. And then as I was sipping, it's a good bowl. It's like this is again something that like it's really smooth and again with the context of describing it like a diner coffee, it's not bad in that way. It's just like this is someone that you could chill out and drink a fair amount of and like relax. It feels like a chill coffee to drink while you're doing something else. I like dark cacao, not necessarily like dark chocolate, but like dark cacao. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that. Yeah. I got like definitely smoky dark chocolate, pretty heavy, a little creamy, and there's like some aromatic complexity in there. I kind of thought of black tea, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. This coffee, I think, does really well as a dark roast. It's got a little bit of earthiness to it, and it also is like a high-grown Colombian coffee, so it stands up really well to some high temperatures, some heat.
Oh yeah.
I got
What was the rating on this one?
2.
2.
2. Okay. Yeah. So it's just sitting in the pocket. This is an extra bold coffee. Yeah.
It's giving crowd pleaser, like it's a good coffee for people that like black coffee and people that like coffee with cream and sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be drink all around.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's sweet. It's very sweet and mild and balanced. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast between the bold and extra bold this month, because I feel like the bold is it's intense, it's a little lighter roasted, and it's kind of savory.
Yeah.
And then the extra bold is darker and probably smokier, but also has a lot more sweetness to it. So it depends on what your preference is there.
Yeah. That's true. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what people will pick throughout the month as their favorite, and all the cupping. Yeah.
Yeah. You think this month is gonna throw everyone for a loop? It'll be different than normal?
I think that the natural Brazil is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Just how people react to that one. I think that's going to be interesting. I think people will be happy to see a Sumatran coffee. It's like people ask about that one for me all the time.
Yeah,
so I think just like their minds can be like, oh no, that was my favorite.
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking that some extra bold fans might actually choose the Sumatra this month. Yeah, but we'll see, because sometimes they want something that's, I guess, louder, right? Less mild. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the coffee people that we get that are like kind of nerdy about it will be happy about this fruity month, because it gives a lot more of that berry taste that people think of when they think of a natural flavored coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of natural processed coffees this month, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like this month has such unique flavors for me too. Like the P1, the P3, the P4. Yeah, like wow. Yeah. And I thought that Damas, Las Damas, I feel like could be even a P3. What do you think, Ian?
I feel like it could.
Yeah.
Remembering the sample roast maybe, but it's a very Um, also, yeah, like balanced coffee.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very complex, a little bit brighter. And we'll definitely have to try to finesse the roast to make it behave more like a classic profile coffee.
Yeah. It tastes very good right now, though. When it's cool,
Yeah.
it is very tasty.
Yeah, I think the redeeming thing for this being classic is how sweet it is. And I think the sweetness is going to be preserved no matter how we roast it. Yeah, really nice.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah, man, these coffees are great.
Yeah. And this is our all but the P3 were grown by women. So they're all
Awesome.
women's.
Yeah, so four women's groups this month.
Yeah.
That's rad.
Damas,
Oh, it's March too, so that's good. Isn't that like International Women's Month? Is that why y'all did that?
yeah, that's why
Yeah.
we did that.
So
And
conscious.
then it's the first year we tried. Like we tried last month and this month, and then we need to take a break. It's a lot of work. Yeah, especially for Ian sourcing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to line everything up in 1 month is tricky for sure.
Well, good job.
Cool.